Jonat, you are being requested to speak. What would you like to talk about?
Hello. I was looking over your list of hot takes,
Sure. What you got
and
for
there was
me?
one that it's not necessarily a debate that I wanted to have, it's just a series of questions.
Hmm.
So, at 29, you say that all religions are nonsense. So,
Yes.
what exactly do you mean by this?
They are made up atavisms that are left over from, older societies. None of them can be empirically shown to be true or work in any way without effectively like just doing some weird stuff with your brain. It doesn't actually impact reality in any way outside of your immense consciousness. So I just don't, it's just all nonsense to me.
But don't you believe? So, the societies, you're saying that they're left over, essentially ideologies from bygone societies.
Hmm.
Do they not serve some purpose to those societies at one time or another?
Well, the purpose in society that I can see is that it builds community, but I feel like there's like dozens and dozens of things that I can think of that builds communities that doesn't require subjugation of people, for example, be it women, minorities, foreigners, gay people, trans people.
But I don't believe that all religions espouse those tenets.
Okay.
For instance,
So what religion do you find to be true?
paganism. No, but it's more about if we're talking about moral frameworks, and so from what I gather from your perspective, the issues with the moral frameworks of some religions are oppression. Is that right?
Well, it's not just oppression. It's the fact that you're abiding by something that can't be empirically shown to be true, and you are framing your entire life around the thing that cannot be empirically shown to be true.
But I believe that if you hold a value and your peer group hold that value to be true, is that not enough to be established as a locally empirically true?
Can you repeat that? That didn't make any sense to me.
So let's say you have a tribal group that holds certain values to be true.
Hmm.
Isn't to each and every member, if they all hold it to be true, isn't it then established within that local group?
So it's established within that local group. Does that make it true?
To them it is. If and what I'm trying to
Would you
get at
say it's
is that,
true then?
so it doesn't matter from my perspective whether it's true. It's more that those rules of, if they establish a rule to be a rule, then that rule defines their society.
Okay, but then that if it's not true, then that would make it a worse off society.
But what I'm saying is that truth is subjective.
No.
So for the Aztecs, the truth and the rules that led them to human sacrifice, they believed that to be true.
Yeah.
And there are many things
And then they're killing
comparatively
innocent lives to make that the case.
of course, but in our society, there are many things that we hold to be true as well. But I think that in, say, 20 years, 30 years, we will be shown to be wrong.
Yes.
So I think for me that what the idea that I'm trying to explain or get at is that I think ideas aren't set in stone, but they're a vehicle to get you from A to B.
Do you believe that
And
there is an underlying truth that is beyond like human perception?
I think that no, human truth is communally established. If I publish a paper in a scientific journal and 100 other people say this is a good thing, then it starts to become established as true. Truth
Let me
is
ask you.
based upon.
Let me ask you
Sorry.
this: would you say that the Pythagorean theorem holds true? Does that hold true to you?
So, for observable factors such as colors, mathematics, this is something that's very easy to universally coalesce upon. So we can all say that the sky is blue. We can all say that tree leaves are green. But when it comes to, say, human emotions and values, that's when it becomes more of a subjective thing.
You said that truth was subjective, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm giving you an example of an objective truth, which is the Pythagorean theorem. You said that it's a lot easier to determine the objectivity of this, so you are conceding that there is, in fact, objective truth.
No, what I'm saying is that there are some values that are observable beyond and the fact that these objects or concepts are observable by everyone.
Is the Pythagorean theorem objective?
So we're building upon. So I want to establish the foundation of my argument in that I believe that truth is communally established by people, and that's easy and it's easy for people to say that the sky is blue because that's not arguable. It's not something that can be argued because it's observable. The same with mathematics. It's observable. Therefore, it's hard to argue that. Therefore, truth is subjective, but the fact that it's so hard for us, well, it's observable. So it's not something that will be argued by the tribe. The things that get argued by our community are things more emotional in nature.
You're saying that truth is subjective.
Yes.
You realize I'm stuck on that, right? But you just explained how things can be objective. There are truths that are objective, right?
So the foundation of my argument is that if everyone accepts something to be true, then it becomes true.
No, it doesn't require a single person to observe whether or not that the Pythagorean theorem is true. The Pythagorean theorem holds true because we live in a Euclidean universe. The Euclidean universe and the discussion of what the Pythagorean theorem is describing some underlying truth that is there independent of humans. For example, if we looked at like the diameter of Jupiter. Jupiter is much older than the human race, but we know that the diameter of Jupiter is, X, whatever it is. Okay. And it doesn't matter if a human is there to perceive it or not. It's still that.
Sure. It comes back to that the saying that if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to see it, does it happen?
Yes.
And
well, it depends on what you describe as sound. If you're describing sound as like the vibrations of air molecules that would be perceived as sound, the answer is yes. It is doing exactly that. It doesn't require a person to observe it in order for that to be the case.
So it's getting away from me, but essentially
I just need you to concede that there is objective truth.
There are observable factors that everyone can agree on.
No, it is beyond observation. I've explained how.
From an omniscient point of view, yes, there are certain truths and there are universal truths. But from a human perspective, I'm saying that humans are not omniscient. Humans don't know. It does not
require humans to observe these facts. We discover the facts. I suppose like the concept of discovery of the facts is a human perspective, but the point is that we didn't invent those. Like we didn't invent the Pythagorean theorem. We use tools to recognize some universal truth, such as a Euclidean universe.
So, okay, so I guess this is where we diverge. I don't like to say the phrase agree to disagree, but I think this is the diverging point in our arguments.
But this isn't really something that's like controvertible. I'm literally simply saying that there's like an underlying truth that we discover and that it exists, right? And then we can discover that truth through our observation, right? And you were saying earlier that that's not the case, but then you said, wait, I do actually agree with it, that there's like an underlying truth. So what is it? What is your argument?
Well, I'm saying that human societies, in taking it back to religion, that we build our moral frameworks upon shared values.
Yes.
And those shared values are something that everyone in the society kind of accepts. You know,
Yes.
we all accept that slavery is bad. But
Well, unless you don't. There are certain societies that are perfectly okay with slavery. In fact, for a large majority of Christianity and Islam, they were perfectly okay with slavery. In fact, there's some societies currently in Islam where they do permit slavery.
And in those societies, the truths they hold to be true would be different to the truths we hold to be true.
What? I didn't make it.
Sorry.
That went over my head.
So their moral reality is, different to ours.
Yes.
And they don't do it.
But that's like a question as to... Sorry, go ahead.
And they don't do that out of... They don't in their hearts feel bad about what they're doing. I don't think so, at least.
What do you think the term... Let me just ask you just straight up. What do you think the term objective means?
Universal. And universal.
Just universal? Nothing else?
Well, essentially a universal thing that holds true in all cases.
So, just pulling up Google, it says that its objective is not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would.
Right. So the diameter of Jupiter.
So that's universal. That's objective.
Yeah, correct. It's objective. Now, morals, okay, now that's up to someone's feelings or opinions. That's the part where it becomes subjective. Yes.
Yeah. But in order to kind of perceive that, so it goes back to so my argument of observable things are easy to agree upon and easier to become truth because everyone can observe.
What is easier to agree upon?
Observable truths, mathematics, the diameter of Jupiter.
Well, no, it's not really a matter of agreement. It's either you're right or you're wrong, right? Because like we can observe the diameter of Jupiter on the basis of parallax that can be measuring the exact diameter, and then based on the parallax, as well as known objects that go in between, mixed with the parallax of that, can determine exactly how big it is. We can mathematically determine that's how big it is. That is not it's not up for a debate as to what the diameter of Jupiter is. You're either right or you're wrong on this topic.
Of course, using, say, parallax, you can determine those things, and we can know them. But a different society and a different environmental context, they might try and frame it as Earth is at the center of the universe or the solar system.
Well, that's just false. It's just wrong.
And it's wrong and false, but because in their environmental context, enough of them held it to be true.
Okay, but the number of people thinking something is true doesn't mean it's true. That's not how truth works.
So this is where we disagree. I think if in a room or in an area, if everyone that exists in your area believes something, then that becomes a reality for you.
I understand it becomes that reality, but that still means it's false. Let's say you got we got every single flat earther, right, into like a commune or whatever, right? They're now in a community, and you're the only globe earther. Is the Earth now flat?
So the rules, if they made it, say, a punishment, if you said that the Earth was not flat, and you would be punished for doing that. So I stand up and say, oh, the Earth is not flat, and they punish me. It doesn't matter necessarily what I believe. Is that my approach? I'm going to get thrown out, punished, and exiled from this community.
Now that you're in jail and you're punished, is the Earth flat?
So no, it wouldn't be flat.
Okay, so the idea of like talking about like a group of people and the fact they believe a specific thing and the fact that you put in jail into it doesn't mean that it's now flat.
But to take the commune example a bit further, it's children born into that context. That will be their reality.
I understand that. That doesn't make it any less true. It makes it false. It's still false. It doesn't matter how. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that no matter how many people you bring into this, it still means it's false.
Of course, but that you have to come.
So there's an underlying truth.
It's an underlying truth from a more enlightened perspective, but not enlightenment is not.
That doesn't matter. It's still an underlying truth.
But that doesn't matter to that commune.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if you have 100,000 people, 1,000,000 people, 1,000,000,000 people. It doesn't matter. The point is that the way that I determine something to be real versus false is going to be whether or not that it actually like has any predictability behind it, right? How many times do we see like religious people claiming like some weird doomsaying thing, right? It's been 2,000 years since like Jesus's death. Where's the rapture? Where did it come? For example.
So I think to get kind of round to is religion nonsense or not? I think that religion touches upon quite primal and intrinsic parts of our psyche.
Why not go for things that actually show empirically to be true as opposed to false?
Yeah, but to deny that those emotional frameworks don't apply to everyone, I think it's false.
I'm not denying it, right? I'm not denying that people believe a thing. I'm also not denying that there is religion that creates community and puts it together. I understand that.
So the nonsense part is that it's not
empirically true. It can't be shown in any semblance. We have no instance where God has influenced any matter. It doesn't exist. All forces can be entirely explained entirely through natural means. Every single one of them, right? So if there's a miracle or something, or there's like an ether where it can like break the second law of thermodynamics. I'm sorry, not the second law of thermodynamics. The law of conservation of matter. I await with bated breath.
So the issue with that argument that I take is that you're taking logical guns to an emotional fight. And so you and so in this environment, if we're to debate the kind of logical aspect, it's missing the emotional picture. That if you were to sit down with a hardcore Christian or an Islamist, your logical arguments and they would not connect with their emotional reality. And so I'm saying that in order to engage with these people and meet on common ground, you have to take into account the fact that their reality of their moral framework is purely emotional.
That's correct.
So to say that...
So it's not based on logic.
No, but to say that someone's wrong, you have to beat them at their emotional game. You can't just...
No, but you came in saying that it was all subjective, but it's not. And then I'm bringing up the logical basis behind it and how it makes no sense. And you then say, well, you got to put into their emotions into. But my original point was that all religions are nonsense, which that would be true based on what you just said.
No, so all religions. This is not. So when I said, so this comes back to the flat earther commune. If you were to try and reason those people out of their position, I don't think logical tools would work. I've talked to many flat earthers. That logical tools are not what you need to fix their perspective.
I understand.
It's their perspective is completely emotional. And so only by addressing their emotional
You're just making
reality,
an argument in rhetoric, which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with rhetoric. It's just not my style. And this isn't an argument against that all religions are nonsense.
So, sorry, what was that? Could you say that a bit more clearly?
So you saying, you making that argument doesn't do anything to refute that all religions are nonsense, right? You're just making an argument in favor of rhetoric, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with rhetoric, but that doesn't really disprove my point that all religions are nonsense.
So my fundamental issue is not is that saying the statement of religions are nonsense. The people who are, that doesn't convince anyone, I don't think.
Yeah, again, you're bringing up rhetoric.
Yeah.
But that's not I'm not concerned with the rhetoric. What I'm just telling you, religions are nonsense. Do you have anything to disprove that?
No.
Okay.
So I think that religions are an emotional framework that connect with people, and they're ubiquitous. They're all over. But yeah.
Poe Boy says, science is nonsense does not mean it is not true. No. Science is not nonsense. In fact, the fact that you make a statement like that from a computer is intensely ironic. But you got anything else for me, man?
No, that was the main the main point of conversation, I suppose.
It's good talk. I'll likely have your video if we put your video up. You'll get a ping. Okay.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.